brow routine, and I'm really excited to be doing it, but I'm kind of nervous at the same time because I have changed up my brow routine so many times over the years that I'm kind of like, what am I going to do today? I know for me personally, when I first started doing my brows, a powder was all I wanted to use just because I felt like that was easier for me to use and control. As I went on, I got onto pencils. If right now you just have eyeshadows laying around because you are new to filling in your brows, eyeshadows are going to work perfectly. I actually love using the Nudes by Maybelline. It's really dirty. It's very loved. Sorry. But I actually love using this for filling in my brows. As you guys can see by the pans, these are the ones that I go by every now and then and use these. So I like using the taupey kind of one for the front part of my eye, or the front part of my brow, and then I go in with this kind of more like chocolatey brown shade to do the rest. If my hair is darker, I will go in with this darker brown shade. So you guys know that the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Definer recently came out, and I think that it is a great product. I love the Brow Wiz, and I also do like the definer. But if you're like me and you really like looking for affordability, then I would definitely recommend the Go Brow. This is RK by Kiss. This is the dupe for the Anastasia brow definer. The only difference I would say is that the Anastasia brow definer is a little bit creamier, whereas this one is a little bit drier. To me, I actually like a drier formula because I like to use these small feathery strokes, which is easy to achieve when you're using the brow definer, but I think that when you're using a creamier formula, you have the tendency to be a little bit more messier. And for me, because I already don't like filling in brows, using a messy formula is just not what works for me. So the thing that I love about this pencil, and the brow definer does it too, is one side is the actual pencil and then the other side is a spoolie. So what I like to do is I always like to brush through my brows before I go in and kind of move them around and start filling in my brows as a whole. So what I like to do is brush in the way that the hairs want to lay. So this very front part that's more sheer, you always want to keep this the lightest part of your brow, so it goes from light to dark. So what I like to do, because the brows automatically want to go straight up, I just kind of brush straight upwards just to kind of get them in place. And then right here where it starts to get thicker and darker, basically from here to about the center of my arch before it kind of starts going down into that tail, I like to brush in a diagonal effect because that's how my hair wants to lay. So what I do is I just kind of flip my brush like this, and then I kind of brush in that diagonal way. I'm kind of going up towards the hairline this way, but I'm not making them stand straight up like this, you know what I'm saying? So just kind of lightly brush it in that general way. Like I said, just kind of follow the general grain that your hair wants to go. That's going to be the easiest thing, and that's going to make your brows a lot easier to fill in, and it's going to make it look more natural if you're like me and you like a more natural brow. So then once I get to this area, the arch, and I start to do the tail, I kind of flip my brush downwards and I brush in that downwards position so that the hair starts coming down. My tail is already pretty much like defined, but I kind of just like to go through it again with my spoolie just to make sure that everything's together. This is my right eye. I think it's probably picking up for you guys on the left, but this brow is so much easier to attain than my left one because this one, as you can see, like the arch is just not there because I have such sparse areas right here that I really have to kind of like draw on my arch over here, make it a little bit darker because I do have sparse areas. A rule of thumb when you're doing your brows is always to remember that you want your brows to be siblings, not twins. So now after I kind of get that, you know, define how I want my brows to lay, I'm going to go ahead and brush this. I'm going to start with my right brow, and I'm going to go ahead and brush all the hair up. I know we just brushed it into place, but that was just because I wanted to generally show you guys how to kind of map out the direction that you want your brows to go in. So I like to brush upwards, and the reason I like to do this, my brows are groomed, so the hair is not going to stick up as much as it usually does. But I like to brush up, and the reason I like to do this is because I want to see, I'm going to kind of tilt my head back so you guys can see it, like to show this like underline area because that's going to really help you map it out. I'm going to use the pencil side, and if you're using a powder, go ahead and go in with a angled brush because this is going to do the same exact thing if you're using, you know, an angled pencil. And I'm going to flip, the brush is going to be kind of pointed upwards, and the reason I'm doing that is because I want to use that edge. It's going to give you a softer line and an easier control, and you're just going to start in a very light, feathery stroke. What I like to do is I like to point the brush right at me, and I like to kind of start brushing that upwards very lightly because you want to keep this the lightest. So I'm going to brush it out, and then I go over it a little bit with some powder, which you'll see in a minute. So now I want to follow this line. So what I like to do is do the exact same thing we did in the very beginning. I'm just going to do small feathery strokes. And then I'm just following that natural curve in the under eye area, as you can see. Now I'm going to brush my hair all the way down so that it's doing the opposite. It's showing you the top line, right? So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to take that pointed part. I'm actually going to start about right here. I don't want to close off the very top right here because that's going to make your brows too square. So I like starting about right here, which is where your hair naturally gets dark. And then I will do the same thing. I'm going to add a little bit of pressure just because I want to really close off that top half of my brow. And then once I get to the arch, start kind of pushing that in harder so you can really get that defined arch. And then I will just kind of lightly bring it down just to kind of start to fill out that wing. Now I'm going to take my spoolie brush and I'm going to brush. Remember how we originally went in and we combed it in that direction that we wanted? We're going to go back to that direction. So I'm just going to go ahead and use small feathery strokes because I don't want to shift the product that I just put down. That's a problem that I see with a lot of people, is that they just like go at their brows really, really quickly, and you're shifting the product, and that's going to make it smear. So you want to do the exact same motion that you're doing when you're applying it. You want to go in small feathery strokes. This is going to help blend out those harsh lines, and it's going to make your brows get back in that position. Now, as you can see, this brow is really starting to be defined. And now this is when I go in with the powder. And this is because I like to fill in those sparse areas. As you can see, I have here and a little bit right here, and then I also do darken up that tail. So I'm going to be going in with this palette, and what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be picking up this color right here. Ooh, this one. This color right here, which is the taupe color, and then this medium brown shade. I'm not going to be making my brows super dark today because I don't have that dark of hair right now. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm taking a angled brush. This is a liner brush. It's just like, it was like $3 from Walgreens. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing. I'm just going to use small feathery strokes, and I'm really going to start to fill in that brow. As you can see, the sparser areas are now kind of disappearing. Before I get to that tail, I'm going to go back in with that spoolie, and I'm just going to go ahead and brush that out. Spoolie brush is seriously the equivalent to a blending brush when it comes to your brows. You can't blend out your eyeshadow smoothly without a blending brush, right? That's the same exact thing that you want to do with your spoolie. That's how you want to look at your spoolie. This is your blending brush. So then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to blend out that powder, kind of tie that in with that pencil, and as you can see, these sparse areas are now done. Darker with the darker color, and I'm going to blend it in with the lighter color. And then I'll tap off the excess. And then what I like to do is I like to, because it is angled, I would go at the tail head on. So I'm going to put the very tip kind of like this, and then I'm going to do small strokes downwards. And then you can go as far or down that you want your tail to be. You have your corner of your eye here, and if you put this up diagonal, that's where you're going to kind of touch down your tail. I don't actually like coming all the way down to this point just because I think that's a little far for my eyes, but I do want to kind of line them up just a little bit. So as you can see, I just kind of bring that down, and then I don't apply a lot of pressure towards the end of that tail. Okay, so like I said, this brow is pretty tricky because the shape is so weird. I don't even know. But I have such sparse areas right here that it doesn't really feel like there's an arch, and it doesn't really feel like there's a tail because this part is so thick. But I can't groom it because, like this one, because it won't come out like this one. It'll come out my tail would end up being like up here, and it would just, that's not cute. So I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same steps. I'll walk you guys through it again, but I'm going to go probably fast forward through it just a little bit. So you're going to brush, and then you are going to draw your line. When I get to the arch on this one, I do it just a little bit differently because I do like to, I kind of have to draw on that arch. So I want to rest my face and just round out the top of that brow, as you can see here. So now you can see that I really just like built that in. So I'm going to go ahead and spoolie it. I know I have that sparse area, but I will be going back over that with a powder. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to set my brows. I actually like doing this before I do the last step, which is clean up. And I love using the Maybelline Brow Drama. This stuff I actually just comb through my brows on those days where I'm keeping it more natural. Maybe I'm just putting on some concealer and some mascara. Then I will go ahead and I'll just wipe this stuff through my brows so that it just kind of cleans up my brows, sets them in place, adds a little bit of color to them, but not too much. But I do like setting this with my brow. This wand has that little kind of like ball on the top. I'm just going to brush in that same general direction as we did before. I'm doing the same exact motions. Up diagonally and then down. And then what I like to do is I like to go back in with my spoolie brush just to make sure that I actually didn't move any of my brows or brow hairs, but I also like to kind of blend in that product so that it doesn't sit as harsh or dark. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and clean it up. And what I like to do is I either like to take the eyeshadow base primer that I've been using or a foundation / concealer. So I usually go back and forth between using the Mica Beauty Cosmetics, I think this is just eye primer. I like using this, or I like using whatever concealer / foundation. I actually like using a foundation a little bit more because I find that it's a little bit easier and like creamier to use. I don't know, that's just me. So today, doing my makeup, I'm actually using the Fit Me by Maybelline Dewy Skin. So what I like to do is take the cap, and I like to take a flat foundation concealer brush. I actually think this is considered a lip brush, but whatever. And I like to just grab a little bit on the inside, and then I will wipe it on the back of my hand so that it's not as like crazy. And then I like to clean it up. And what I like to do is I like to kind of just take it to the very edge of my brows, and then I go ahead and I clean it up. And I'm basically mapping out that whole entire area. I like to kind of extend this outwards, and then I pull it up so that it really does like clean up that top portion of my brow. And then I will go in just with my finger and kind of blend that out. And then I will take this and I will blend along that line, and I kind of take it and pull it downwards so that I'm blending more down. So I like just kind of taking it and working that. I kind of go back and forth just to blend it out. If it gets on the bottom line like it did right there, I don't know if you can tell, but that's okay because we will go back in and clean it up here in a minute. And then I kind of just like taking my finger and I just kind of blend away any harshness right there. And then with the spoolie, I will just make sure that I'm keeping that line clean and fresh. I don't really feel like I need to go over the top half of this, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish the back end, which is going to start on the top. So I like to start from here, and then I just carve out that same exact thing. This is going to give you a crisper tail as well. So after that, my brows are complete. I'm going to keep a bare face right now just because I'm going to go ahead and jump into my next video. But this is how I do my brows, and it's on some days it's quicker than others. Sometimes it's just powder, sometimes it's just this little pencil, but like I said, it's whatever works for you, whatever you're more comfortable with. But practice makes perfect, and you always just want to do what's best for you and what always makes you feel beautiful. You guys know that I say it at the end of every single video, so I'll say it now because this is kind of the moment we're having. But always remember to just be your own kind of beautiful, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.